Hello, this is Christina Barry watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we are going to be talking about Bernie Sanders had an interview talking about his new book that's coming out, and so he got challenged on, he's someone who's like a communist, which he sort of denies, doesn't deny, whatever, but or democratic socialism or whatever is what he'll espouse. He got called out like, hey, you have this big book out, you're charging a lot of money to go see your talks. What's that about? So I want to talk about his answer to that. Also want to talk about the Daily Beast, which I had put this on my Facebook page, but Christina Caramo from Michigan, she ended up winning the chair race, which I was for the Michigan Republican Party. I was there that weekend. It was a long day. You can get to that a little bit. But there's a burst of all these articles because when she ran for Secretary of State, she was picked by Trump. And so she got a lot of a ton of press, which some of the stuff that they covered and was so dishonest and immoral. And maybe we can get a little bit into that as well. But there was one headline that the Daily Beast put out to prove that she's like a conspiracy theorist person, and people can talk about, what she does or doesn't believe as far as like the election in 2024, 2022, etc. But they mentioned something about her stance on abortion and things that she said about abortion. And I'm like, guys, she's absolutely right. So, so we're going to get into that today. And also this crazy story that I saw the Babylon Bee put out. And I was like, oh, that's a weird joke. And then I was like, wait a second, this says not the bee. So apparently Spain is doing something weird with animals. Yeah, so quite a weird show today. But before we jump in everything, I want to encourage you guys to blacktnews.com. Check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos. I did drop an article about my thoughts on the Black National Anthem, or Lift Every Voice, which people say Black National Anthem. They don't mean that literally, but I compile my thoughts and the concerns and the questions and the things that I've heard. I think just basically about everything that I've seen on the internet from the left. I mean, not the left, but the right. I've addressed in it. So I took quite a bit of time to write it out. So if you have the time, I'd recommend you go read it. I did go through this all pretty much in a video the day after. So I just wanted to pin it down. Sometimes when I can actually pin things down, it's obviously, but I guess more concise. But thank you to everyone who thinks I speak very well, but I do type and write very well. So I wanted to put it down in an article. So that's available on my website. Recommend that you read it. Oh, yeah. So we'll all be talking about that a little bit, but you can also go to check out other videos that I have. I still have my March for Life footage that I have up that you guys can watch, and other things. I will be taking a vacation. I think it's next week. The particular days celebrating my sister's birthday. So I just want to put that out there. So when you won't see me for a few days, but I'll still have some other stuff that's out. I'll keep posting. But I'm going to enjoy myself a little bit. So I just want to put that out there in the atmosphere. Also, go check out other things that we have that you guys can see, like I write books. Like I have Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. I wrote this during the pandemic because people were crazy. I wish people had taken this advice. But I also have my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, available for pre-order for Kindle and also on Nook. It will be available on paperback and also hardback. So please make sure that you guys sign up at the website so you're able to see when that'll be available for like the actual physical copies. Very excited for you guys to learn more about that and read that. It's been a huge passion project of mine that really evolved. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I normally like to talk about secular arguments about why you should be pro-life. My reasons are very simple. Like, life starts at conception scientifically, and that's where we should begin to protect our rights. And then people would just throw in religion and say, get your God out my uterus and all this stuff. And then they start throwing in scriptures and saying stuff that was not accurate. So I did a ton of videos like on TikTok. It starts to take over my page. And then I started writing articles, and then articles turned into more articles, and then eventually just got compiled into a book. So I'm looking forward to when you guys can actually look at that. So also check out different merch on the website. We got the Free Canada shirts that people said were really cool. So I just wanted to let you know that those are still available. We got the Constitution is Glorious Liberty document. Also got some black tea merch, etc. So go ahead and check out the merch on the website. Before we jump into everything, you guys know that I like to start off with a meme. And so the meme actually goes right into the story, because Bernie Sanders, people were pointing out from this interview that he was this real life meme that you've probably seen around before, that we should improve society somewhat, yet participate in society. Curious. I am very intelligent. So a lot of folks on the left like to use this when you bring up socialism or communism, and you're like, hey, you're saying all this stuff that's anti-capitalist, that you're using, you're not your iPhone or your cell phone, or you're participating using, you bought your clothes and your food and all that stuff. You're obviously participating in society and benefiting off of capitalism. And I don't think this meme is very great, but we see it all the time. But this is basically what Bernie Sanders did. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video.
But I have to ask you, you're going on tour to promote this book, It's Okay to Be Angry About Capitalism. And you're here talking about it. I understand we're not the bad guys you're describing in the book when it comes to media. But tickets for your tour apparently are selling for $95 on Ticketmaster, which is accused of anti-competitive behavior. You know that. Some of your Democrats are criticizing them. Aren't you benefiting yourself from this system that you're trying to dismantle?
First of all, those decisions are made totally by the publisher and the bookseller. I think there's one case where in one place here in Washington, Politics and Prose, an independent bookstore, charging some tickets. Most of them, I think, are $40, $50, and you get a book as well. So if you want to come, you're going to have to pay $40. I'll throw in the book for free. And we're doing a number of free events, but I don't make a nickel out of these things at all.
But you're okay doing business with Ticketmaster?
No, not particularly, but that's, again, I have nothing to do with that. That is, if you wrote a book, it'd probably be the same process.
Mm-hmm. So you have to operate within the system.
I do. I write a book, a major publisher, et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera, et cetera. That's just how it is. But it doesn't have to be. That doesn't have to be how it is, especially in the digital age. You can get around a lot of that stuff. So as far as I'm saying, the publisher makes those deals. They're the ones who set up the tours, and they're the ones who decided to do it with Ticketmaster. That's absolutely legitimate. Absolutely, I would assume true. To what different tours he probably does. I mean, that's one of the benefits of having a publisher. They're the ones who set all that up. If you do stuff independently, those are things that you have to set up. It's a lot of work. So you get a publisher. Yes, they are the ones who set those things up. But him saying, I don't make a dime, that's interesting to me, because yes, he's probably not making a particular dime from each event. Sure. But that's what the advance was for, old man. That's what the advance is for. It's like whatever his contract is, it's you have to do so many signings, you're going to do this many talks, and they arrange all those things. And I don't know how much he got for this particular advance for this book that he's doing, that includes this tour for this talk or whatever. But one of his advances was nearly $800,000. So, I mean, Bernie, he's been in politics a long time, never had much of a real job, always been in the government. But he's gone from, writing these books and having 3 houses. So, he's expanded quite a bit because of capitalism. And I can't fault anybody for it, but these people don't live by, their convictions. And as far as you live in society therefore you have to participate in society. Yeah, but you do have to participate in society, but you can also, the beauty, the liberty of living in a capitalist system is that you can go somewhere and start your own commune with your friends and whatever, and live like socialists or whatever, or communists, whatever you want. Well, I guess not. You can live off of just giving each other's resources and not trading things for value, and see how long that lasts. You can absolutely do that. You can absolutely do that if you want to. And him saying, I don't make a dime, you can come to this event that's $40, I'll throw the book in for free. His book doesn't have to cost anything right now. He does not need a publisher. First of all, he's very famous. Bernie Sanders, he's run for president. You know, a lot of people love Bernie, young and old. So if he has a book and he wants it out there, and wants people to freely just be able to participate in society and read his book because it's going to better society. That's why I assume he wrote the book. I really assume he wrote the book to make money, but to better society, whatever. Or at least that's why he's charging and going to a publisher, to make money. Because if he just wanted people to have the book, there's a couple things he could have did. He could have went through I don't know if the site is actually still up, but there's sites like, one was like Book Funnel or something, where people could download stuff. I used it once for to give it to beta readers. So they can have set PDFs or different formats to different people's phones, whether it's like the Mobi or whatever the files are for different books, and it could download. People could go there, download it. He could track how many downloads there are. He can track people's emails, so he could at least benefit from that sort of way, because people do benefit from having data. But it could be free if he wanted it to be free, or if he went through a source like, Amazon or somebody and just had it listed for free. You could, you can. I don't know if you can permanently do it for free, but you can. I think maybe you might be able to. But you can do a lot of free giveaways, if it's like Kindle Unlimited or something. If you're in KDP Select, or he could just have a website and have a PDF link or the file, Mobi file, whatever, and people could just go download it from his website. And people could have the option to donate if they want to his campaign, if that's what they want. Assuming that they set up the campaign finance stuff right. He doesn't have to literally make a dime off of it, but he is, and he got that advance. So she could have definitely mentioned that. she let him get away with that comment. So but the friendly fire from the media, it was a good little point she pointed out. But she did let him get away with that. But yeah, he's not, when he says he's not making a dime off of it, he's already made his dimes and nickels and quarters. He already made it in the advance. So just wanted to point that out there. This whole, we should improve society somewhat, yet you participate in society. That's what they're trying to boil it down to. But, just like BLM folks were trained Marxists and believed in that philosophy, but as soon as they could buy some mansions and houses and all that stuff, did they not do that? and which they got backlash for from other sort of Marxist folks, is like, why are you doing this? Or how can you argue that it's okay to do this? Which Patrisse Cullors said, essentially, I'm helping Black people because my family is Blacks. So when I buy them houses, I'm helping Black people. And I can respect that if you weren't a raging hypocrite, because I totally get that. Helping your family. But white people feel the same way. Asian people feel the same way. Everybody, wants to help their families, for sure. So you're not special because you're Black and doing it. So I just wanted to point that out. So, Bernie. I want to talk about this article from the Babylon Bee. Actually, it's not the Bee. I saw this headline and I'm like, that is very weird. And I thought for sure that it was just the Babylon Bee. Then I looked again and I'm like, oh, snap. That says not the Bee. That says not the Bee. So if you're not familiar with Not the Bee is the Babylon Bee, but the Babylon Bee does parody. This isn't parody, this is real life. So Spain has decriminalized sexual relations with animals as long as there's no physical injury that requires veterinary visit. Okay. In case you didn't think the world was sinking low enough with all the gender pedophilia craziness, I give you Spain's new animal welfare law that decriminalizes having sex with animals because zoophiles are just another spectrum on the trans flag. And they had a link to a zoophile march in Germany that you guys can go look if you want, see it if you want to. I don't want to see it. The Spanish zoophile affirming law was pushed by Ion Berlara Ortega, the Minister of Social Rights and 2030 Agenda. Now let's pause a moment and think about that. There's an actual ministry of Spanish federal government with the words 2030 Agenda in its official title. In addition to championing human/animal love in the 2030 Agenda, ministry also oversees family affairs, minors protections, disability, and prevention of youth crime, adoptions and foster care, and the promotion of cultural communication and youth association. You'll note that there's nothing climate related in the list, and it's mostly related to children. But back to the topic at hand, what exactly is a new Spanish animal welfare law that's so problematic? It's an update to the law that previously criminalized bestiality, Article 337.1 of the Penal Code, which reads, the person who by any means or procedure mistreats a domestic or tamed animal, an animal that is usually domesticated, an animal that temporarily or permanently lives under human control, or any animal that does not live in the wild, causing injuries and seriously impairs its health, or subjects the animal to sexual exploitation, shall be subject to a minimum of 3 months and up to a maximum of 1 year in prison. He or she shall be prohibited from 1 year to 3 years from a profession or trade that is related to animals, or from the possession of animals. The new version reads, the person who by any means or procedure mistreats a domestic or tamed animal, an animal that is usually domesticated, an animal that temporarily or permanently lives under the human control outside of legally regulated activities, including acts of a sexual nature causing injuries that require veterinary treatment to the restoration of health, shall be subject to a minimum of 3 months up to a maximum of 18 months in prison. He or she shall not be prohibited from 1 year or 3 years from the profession or trade that is related to animals, or from the possession of animals. The change to that or subjects the animal to sexual exploitation line essentially means that as long as there isn't physical injury that requires veterinary treatment, people are free to have sex with animals. That is weird. That's weird, guys. I don't know what else to say about that other than that's weird, and we're really living in the upside down. So yeah, other people are reporting it. Not like major stuff, but T-Post Millennial did report on it. But yeah, I for sure saw that headline and thought it was a Babylon Bee article. So that is super strange. So let's get to Saturday. So I was at the, which by the way, many of you were very lovely. I got to see many of you in person. I told you guys I was from Michigan, but some people are like, why are you here? And like, I don't know, as if I flew in or something. I wouldn't have flown in for that, but oh gosh, it was a long day. It was 11 hours. I got up at well, as late as possible. I made sure to set out my clothes the night before. So I got up at like 5:30 to leave my house at like a little after 6 so I could do my sound check because I sang the national anthem. I do not have the video on me. I didn't record it because I was from on stage, but I know people have recorded it. The party recorded it. I do not know if people in charge have access to that, but eventually one day I can show you guys. But there are other videos of me singing the national anthem out there, and I've shared before. But if you guys want to see that, I'll try to get that to you. So the convention was long. There were originally 11 people running for the position, and only a handful that were like seriously running for the position. and there are multiple ballots. Originally, the party expected to be done, or was supposed to be done at 5, and it ended up going till 8 o'clock, and it was a lot. It was just really a lot, to be there all day. But the person who won was Christina Karam. She ran for Secretary of State in Michigan, and she did not win the position. Just to be frank, she's a good friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time. And she has a to the hardest path, I would say, out of everyone who was like the top 3, because some of our donors would have been friendlier to Scott Greenlee, who is a consultant. If I could criticize his video though, which was an okay video, if I was Scott, this is why you always hire Christina. If I was Scott, I would have had people who I helped win say, I won with Scott. I won with Scott Greenlee. I won with Greenlee. I won with Greenlee. And been like, yeah, do y'all want to win? Like, that would have been my pitch. Because everyone was so there's been this huge institutional distrust of the delegates that have been slowly gaining more ground and more power throughout the years. And now the grassrootsiest type of folks have gained the control, and they finally got the person that they wanted in. Now this institutional distrust, I'm thinking about how much I want to lay out here, but I will say that it has been earned. Some of it is some allegations or some things that people are upset about aren't warranted, but there's definitely reasons why that mistrust has been sown and it has been reaped, and I can get into that for sure. But all the candidates were like, I'm making a pact with the delegates. I'm the person of the delegates. I'm working for you. I'm working for you. And that's a thing that people should say. But to really, really focus on, I'm the person with the winning record and we can win. Like, that's how I would have stood out. So, but out of the top contenders, he obviously had the farthest sort of to go. The other person who finished out second was Matt DePerno, who is our candidate for Attorney General, and he had got in. Now both Christina and Matt were endorsed by Trump, but Trump ended up endorsing Matt. What I found interesting on the floor talking to some delegates is that they did not like that so much of the machine seemed to be behind Matt. So there were some people on the floor who were very grassroots, who normally support like super grassroots people, who still were like, and I'm not saying that Scott Greenlee isn't a grassroots pro person or anything like that. That's not, but I was surprised that this particular person, I'm not going to say their name or anything, but they were in support of Scott out of the top 3 choices. But as soon as JD Glazier got out, he was one of the people who went out in the first round. There was printed papers of him saying, hey, I support Matt, which is totally not off the wall, because people make all sorts of deals. Like, if you lose, will you support me? And if you win, and vice versa, will you support me? That happens all the time. You try to pick up your delegates and vote with the endorsement. That's not unusual. But to have the printed papers of JD supports Matt, I was hearing from people that they didn't like that, and that was a turnoff. And they were just suspicious about how all these levers of power were pushing for him. So I thought that was interesting, especially from different people that I heard it from. I didn't vote yesterday. I wasn't a delegate. I came to sing and to listen and to chit chat. I read a lot as I waited for it to end, because I did want to see how it was going to end. And to be frank, I wasn't surprised how it ended. I told people it was going to end the way that it did. Um, so to get to the root of the systemic distrust of the party and the delegates, there's, for as long as I've been involved, there's always been talk of how do you keep certain people from taking over the party. And some people, and don't get offended, I'm just using the language. So I'm just telling you things that I've heard. I'm not telling you things that are my definitions or how I perceive things. I'm just trying to paint a picture for you, right? There's always been conversations about how do you keep the crazies from taking over. Again, not my language. And so usually you'd have, some grassroots people who would peak up, and they'd usually get shot down, from, good campaigning, good deal making, backdoor deals or whatever to get this candidate A out. It's always been like, at least as far as I've been involved a couple ways back, particular people getting positions of power from and if it wasn't this person, it was that person who wanted that person in, et cetera, et cetera. So but there was a person who was a grassroots person who definitely was not someone that people were scared of. And that was my sister. And so I'm not trying to be personal or anything as I explain this, but I'm going to tell you how this this event did radicalize the current chair to where she's at. So I'll tell the story. So for those of you who don't know, my sister ran in 2019. And I was her campaign manager. She was at the time, for a little background, she started working under Bobby Shostak, who was a chair before Ronna McDaniel. I think it was a Ron, Bobby. Weiser was chair before, but Bobby was twice. Ronna was chair, and then Ron Weiser was chair, and then this was the next race. So Gina ended up running against Laura Cox. Now, there was a ton of people who we heard was going to run, and all of a sudden it just became Laura Cox. Laura Cox was the wife of the former attorney general. And so she was the person that the machine was pushing. So we were just going to run the race. But Gina started out working at the Detroit office. She worked her way up to be a field, to working in the field. Then she was over a couple different counties. And then she went to the RNC, was the head of urban engagement and the head of women's engagement. So she's worked under several different chairs and worked her way up all the way to the DC. She had a lot of institutional knowledge and could see things from a perspective at basically every level. Definitely knows how the party works, how it works on the ground, how it works in the different departments. And from what she didn't know what happened in the office every day, I could tell her because I also worked there for some time. So she wasn't a person to be concerned about. And some people in high power thought she could be groomed to have that position one day, just letting you know. But she didn't wait her turn. So some shady things were done. And these are things I've talked about before, not all on this channel, but I've written statuses, and at the time I actually went live as things were happening. They tried to get us kicked off the ballot, for one. They were upset that chairs even allowed us to participate. They thought they should just not sign our forms to do it. People were threatened to not endorse her. And people who did endorse were threatened, and they had to retract it. We were threatened through a friend. They ran stories about her that were negative in the press. they sent out mailers. Now, this really ticked off people, suggesting that she wasn't pro-life, under a really dumb caveat, which wasn't true in the least bit. You guys know me, like, obviously not true. Um, which made people like I said, really upset, because they thought saying that someone believed that killing babies was, that they were for that, was one of the most egregious things that you could say. So there was a lot of things that was done during that campaign, and they weren't secret. And even on the day, well, there are other things that happened. There were Congress people they used to openly snub us. Our Senate Majority Leader, not Mitch McConnell, but I'm talking about in Michigan, Shirkey, openly snubbed us at an event that was local to us. So everyone in the room knew us. The chair who was there at the event of like Ingham County came up to, when I introduced her to my sister, she said, "I love your sister." She's talking about me. "I love your sister. I love your sister. I love her sister." So a room full of people who loved us, and then they openly disrespected us in the room. Openly did that. So, which we, and they filmed my sister because they were trying to, I don't know, make the black girl react or something. But she just had a straight face, and we just took it. And when we left, we laughed because we thought it was so stupid and so high school and so childish. So with all that happened, even stuff that was done at the convention was shady. Like the night on Friday night, you caucus like from different districts, and then on that Saturday is the big day. That Saturday, there were people from DC whipping on the floor for Laura Cox, who won, including the RNC chair. So people saw that. The grassroots people saw that. People who cried on the floor, like dropped to their knees, so upset because they worked hard and supported my sister. I saw whipping for Christina. But Christina was not that involved. I mean, she was involved, but she wasn't as super involved until after that event. And then after that event, she just kind of had it, let me get more involved and I will do it myself. You know, like I've been to, was it the first Avengers film or something, when Thanos got up of his chair and put on the gauntlet and said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." It's kind of what happened. So the deep institutional mistrust that people have, that the grassroots people have of like the establishment, me saying that it's a bit earned, this isn't the only incident. And I understand people trying to keep certain like folks like from running the party that they don't like, but what they did was unnecessary, and it was just a power move. And there are moves we could have made that we opted not to, because we were thinking about what was good for the benefit of the party. So that there is a long institutional mistrust that has been built, and now the grassroots people have it. And but now there's a lot of bad blood, and the big donors, like Michigan is different than a lot of, there's just big donors all over the country, but Michigan has some really big donors that have injected money into the party over the years. And I'm not optimistic that they're going to come running to give, and that's putting it as super nice as I can. So they're going to have to find different means of supporting the party in a way that's never been done before. I said I thought before the race really took off that the grassroots and the donors, there had to be some kind of come to Jesus moment. There obviously wasn't. And I don't foresee it anytime soon. It's got to happen eventually. I don't know who's going to lay down that sword first. I don't. But you don't build loss after loss after loss without some kind of reason behind it. So Um, like I said, I'd like to see a come to Jesus moment. I haven't seen The Chosen. I saw someone share a scene on TikTok of there was a Gentile who had just heard Jesus, and the Pharisees were like, "What did he say?" So he started talking about how the gospel's for everyone, not just um, the Jewish people, but also the Gentiles. And the Pharisees got so angry and said, you've hurt our people. And then the Gentile responded, "We've hurt each other." So one day there's gonna have to be this come to Jesus moment. I don't foresee that any time soon. So we will see how they're able to rebuild the party. We will see how they're able to do that. But it is to be frank, it's going to be a hard road. Now I want to win, so I'm determined to help whoever I can to get there, because we got a presidential election. We have a Senate seat that's going to be open because Debbie Stabenow is retiring. There's some interesting names floating about. There's people who, you know, who ran last time for different seats who didn't quite make it, who are going to run again. And I want this to be a successful term for them. So, my door is at least open to people who want to win. My door is open to people who want to win. Because at the end of the day, I'm not much into the ego stuff. I'm not. I just want to win. I want to win because I think our values are superior to the other side of the aisle. And there's some crazy wackadoodle stuff that they're really, really pushing to as hard as they possibly can. And if they don't at least see some losses on their side to at least check them a bit, they're just going to keep going as radical as they are. Even though there's moderate Democrats who don't like all this crazy stuff, if you don't check them with giving them some losses, you will not see them slow up at all. Biden is empowered from the fact that he didn't get trounced in the midterms. He's empowered by that. That's why he's even considering running. If he got, because everyone was saying, "Oh, I don't know if he should run." Now I still don't know if he's going to, because it seems like people still aren't gung ho on Biden, but he definitely had an extra pep in his step after the midterm. So I just want to win. That's my attitude, period. But there is a lot of baggage there, especially some media stuff involving Christina. One story that is awful, and I don't think she really, I mean, she addressed it, but I don't think it was really it didn't get a lot of oxygen. But one story that was awful was she had a custody battle with her ex, and he alleged some things in court that some media looked at and was like, this is obviously some crazy, like, ex spiteful stuff, and the national media ran with it. As far as some stuff that she said about elections, yeah, that's going to be something that stays a talking point for a long time. But the thing that I wanted to talk about was this Daily Beast article talking about her conspiracy theories, as far as here it is. Christina Caramo has previously spewed baseless QAnon conspiracy theories that elites sell off freshly harvested organs after abortions, which she called a child sacrifice before. Now, Judicial Watch has an article that I've shared before, that I've talked about before, but they did a FOIA request, and our government does buy fresh, never frozen fetal remains for humanized mice experiments. That is a thing. That is not a conspiracy. So there's that. There could be like other examples, but that's the one that it's always in my mind. Because I'm like, why would you want to do that at all? Like, it's gross enough anyway. But why mice? What are they doing to the mice? Why? So there's that. But so she also they're also upset that she called abortions child sacrifice. How is it objectively not child sacrifice? Now, when she ran for Secretary of State, I got a ton of mailers that didn't even talk about election related things. they're about things that she said like on her apologetics podcast or whatever. And I'm like, why are they sending out these mailers? Now, I don't know what church she attended, but I think she attended a pretty big one. And there's a lot of people who share similar faith positions. So I really thought it was an attack on people's religious opinions, which were really unfounded and disgusting. But the how's it not child sacrifice? So I want to play this video. Let's go back in time when Michelle Williams accepted her Golden Globe, because this is a perfect example.
First of all, to my Fosse Verdon, thank you so much. First of all, to my Fosse Verdon family and to the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. When you put this in someone's hands, you're acknowledging the choices that they make as an actor, moment by moment, scene by scene, day by day, but you're also acknowledging the choices they make as a person, the education they pursued, the training they sought, the hours they put in. I'm grateful for the acknowledgement of the choices I've made, and I'm also grateful to have lived at a moment in our society where choice exists, because as women and as girls, things can happen to our bodies that are not our choice. I've tried my very best to live a life of my own making, not just a series of events that happened to me, but one that I could stand back and look at and recognize my handwriting all over, sometimes messy and scrawling, sometimes careful and precise, but one that I had carved with my own hand. And I wouldn't have been able to do this without employing a woman's right to choose.
There's Busy Phillips right there. Busy Phillips has also Billy Phillips is an actress. I don't know. She's not like the most famous actress. Gosh, I think I really just know Busy Phillips from White Chicks. I'm like, I think she was in some episodes of Sarah Connor Chronicles, the Terminator Chronicles or whatever. But yeah, she's also an actress who has also talked about how abortion has been able to help her career being an actress. So let's keep watching.
To choose when to have my children and with whom, when I felt supported and able to balance our lives, knowing, as all mothers know, that the scales must and will tip towards our children. Now, I know my choices might look different than yours, but thank God, or whomever you pray to, that we live in a country founded on the principle that I am free to live by my faith and you are free to live by yours. So women 18 to 118, when it is time to vote, please do so in your own self-interest. It's what men have been doing for years. It's what men have been doing for years, which is why the world looks so much like them. But don't forget, we are the largest voting body in this country. Let's make it look more like us.
So if you're interested in who decided Roe v. Wade, you can also look and see it was men who did that, but made that awful decision. So she said there are things that happen to your body that you can't choose. And like 99% of the time when women have abortions, it is through consensual sex. I know what people will say. They'll say consent to sex isn't consent to pregnancy. Guys, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. First of all, you can't consent to that sort of biological function like you will it to happen. I mean, there's women who obviously want to get pregnant and try very hard and can't. But if it's something that you could control, you wouldn't have all these women paying out fertility stuff all the time. So, but if you're too dumb to know that sex, the action of procreation, can procreate someone, you're either too dumb to have sex, or you're too young to have sex, and what happened to you was a crime. And I hope you reported it to the police. So, it drives me up a wall how much women are so my choice, pro-choice, etc. But they don't expect people to hold them accountable for the choices that they make. So I can't infantilize you and pretend like you don't know how babies are made. Now, I talked about this before. I made a TikTok or whatever, put it out there. That what you're really saying is what pregnancy, consent to sex isn't consent to pregnancy. You're saying that your child just doesn't have the consent to live. It live inside you. So I don't know who you're saying that for, because they can't. You don't care what the man. You might care what the man thought, but he doesn't really get a say. And you don't care what the baby thinks because you're about to off them. So who are you announcing that for? And even if you they don't have your consent to live, you can't, you're not going to will the abortion to happen. You want society to participate. So what if society is like, we don't consent to helping you have this abortion? You might say, what do you mean? We don't need your help. Do you not want access to Planned Parenthood? And do you not want access to the pills? Do you not want access to the suctions and the forceps and the lethal injection, all that stuff? I'm pretty sure you want, they're advocating for that stuff. So they do need consent of society, because they want resources to do it. And they want the government, who exists to protect, to ensure our inalienable rights, one of them being life, even though Kamala Harris recently omitted that from a speech. We didn't forget it exists. So the purpose of government is to ensure our inalienable rights. So you want them to just ignore the rights of the baby so you can have the abortion. So back to the subject of the child sacrifice. She is an actress. She does not have an important job. Like, we enjoy movies. We enjoy the escapism. We enjoy when there's a good historical film. Art can have such meaningful impacts in life, sure. But are you supplying food or something to communities? I mean, maybe you are with your money or something. But at the end of the day, it's not a job that you have to have. And if she didn't have it, someone else could have easily taken it. Like, you are so replaceable when you're an actress. So she's an actress, a professional pretender, standing on stage with a golden idol, talking about how she is glad that she had the opportunity to sacrifice her child for that opportunity. How is abortion not child sacrifice? Like, unless it's some kind of, I had said on the internet before, like, unless it's some kind of medical situation, and depending on the medical situation, because I guess you would technically be choosing one over the other, but in some scenarios, some scenarios you can't, you might have to induce, and the baby just can't live if it's just too premature. But I'll just go by abortion on demand to make this less sticky, which is the case for most situations. If you're like, I had to have an abortion because I needed to family plan properly for who was coming next, so we're in a more stable situation. I'll keep saying this: life is not linear. You don't know what tomorrow will be like, or the next year, etc. You don't know. You could have a huge turnaround, and even so, is that money or that stability worth someone's life? Someone told me the other day that they don't regret their 2 abortions because they're a middle-aged woman now making 6 figures. And I'm like, you're going to tell me, you have the audacity to tell me during Black History Month that 2 people were worth 6 figures? Like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. But I understand people trying to convince themselves of that, but you're not going to convince me of that. You're not going to convince me of that. So there's this one super viral TikTok video of a young woman who had an abortion through the abortion pills. And she's like, I'm going to tell this because you pro-life people have no idea what this is like. And she talked about the pain that she experienced. And we're all like, dude, we totally know this. That's why we talk about this information so people will be aware of it. But she talked about her abortion experience, and it was terrible. And she said she's still pro-choice, and so people questioned why she had it, because in the video she said she complained about people saying that abortion is convenient, is out of convenience. So I watched another one of her videos that explained why she had the abortion, and so she essentially, she didn't have what she felt was financial stability for the baby, which she didn't call it a baby, but so, and she said when she has a child, she wants to give them the world. So she, in this situation, is she not sacrificing that child for the stability for herself and the other future children? Is she not like doing a Sophie's Choice kind of thing? Like, actually, well, if you haven't seen the movie, I was gonna say, I guess she didn't technically she made a choice, but that was a heck of a situation. This isn't quite like that. But did she not sacrifice that child for whatever future children she might have? And by the way, there's women who have abortions who never conceive later. There's some women who don't run into that, but there's women who never conceive afterwards. But that's a perfect example of what we would say is a convenient abortion, because you didn't have to have it. That's what we mean. Not that it's not a difficult decision, or that it's not a difficult process, or that you won't suffer physically or emotionally, etc. That's not what we mean when we say that. We mean that you didn't need to have it because it came at an inconvenient time, or whatever the situation was. But you chose that path because you thought it would be better for you in the end. So the really devastating thing about it, she said she wanted to give her child the world. I'm like, you can't give your child the world. You can't do it. You can try, but you can't do it. And you're not going to be a perfect parent, and you're certainly not going to produce the perfect child. Which, I mean, one time my dad was counseling a family, and they asked the child, like, are you a perfect child? And they said no. Like, why do you expect a perfect parent? And I always thought that was, sounds simple, but I thought it was pretty profound. A line from an anime I really liked was Full Metal Alchemist, and Hohenheim said to his son, I'm not going to go through the whole plot, but he said the earth spins on a tilted axis, just doing the best that it can. So you're not going to be able to give your child everything. You're not going to be able to give them a perfect life. They may have to struggle. I struggled in my life. My siblings struggled in my life. But I can't look at my youngest sister and say, oh yeah, my life would have been better if she wasn't here and I got to have more toys. Or there were times when we didn't have to struggle so much, or worry how we're going to put food in the fridge and stuff like that. I wouldn't look at my sibling and say my life would have been better if they weren't here. So the financial reasons people spout for abortions are always kind of like creepy to me. But you can't give your kid everything, but the least you can do is allow them to live their life. That's the bare minimum. That's to want to do that, or to try to do that. And unfortunately, there's some women who miscarry and can't end up doing that, and it's a terrible grieving process for them, because that's a real human being that they've lost. So don't think that you can plan out life so perfectly that it's worth taking someone out to have the perfect moment, to have the perfect condition. What happens when you have your baby, or what if something happens and you miscarry, or what if something happens and you think you're like total financial stability, and then a spouse dies, or you go bankrupt, there's some kind of market burst, or whatever. You don't know. But people expecting that we can just create the perfect life, that's not what we're here for. We're just here to live our lives and try to find meaning in them. So Daily Beast saying that abortion isn't child sacrifice is just misinformation to fight misinformation. But Daily Beast isn't the only ones who are pushing back against it. Like I said, I saw mailers that were trying to dig Karamo on this particular point. I'm like, what do they mean it's not? Now, if they're going the route of they're having abortions as satanic rituals, which I think the Church of Satan is like actually arguing to protect abortion, but do we think that people are having abortions to sacrifice themselves, the babies, in a pagan sort of way to, I don't know, to Baal or something like that, or Moloch, or no, no, not really. But idolatry doesn't have to be those sort of pagan gods. It's just you putting someone else above God, and you're obviously making the sacrifice on the altar of self. You can't say it's not child sacrifice. And the only other route to go is it's not a child, but a child is a son or daughter of any age. I've had people then argue about what age is, the definition of age, and I'm like, age is you counting from the moment that something or someone exists. So just give up the point. It's a child. If you wanted it, you call it your child. If you wanted the baby, you call it a baby. Like Michael Knowles did a debate with a med student, and she said she's actually being taught that if the patient wants the baby, you call it a baby. If the patient doesn't want the baby, you call it a fetus, because you don't want to make any sort of moral conundrum for them, even though she knows the baby is alive, which is really twisted, really twisted. But that's the world we live in today. So it's absolutely child sacrifice. There's other examples of singers and musicians. Emmanuel Ako. He has a really big YouTube channel. He did the Bachelor reunion after Hayes got kicked out, or Harrison. Is it Harrison? I think it's Harrison. Got kicked out. I don't think he's still doing that or whatever, but he has a show called The Uncomfortable Conversation, and he had a couple women on there talking about their abortions, and one of them was a gold medalist, and she had an abortion before the Olympics, and she talked about that, and Emmanuel asked her, like, do you believe in a sense that your abortion saved your life, and not like literally saved her life, but like in a I don't know, metaphorical sort of way of how she defines herself. And she said yes. And I thought it was such a disgusting question for him to ask, because they were asking these things as Christian, from a perspective of Christians, and questioning the church, and why are they silent on how people are so devastated after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I'm like, nobody is talking about, they're all talking about their lives, their futures, their feelings. There was no call for repentance. There was no empathy for the children who were killed. And there definitely wasn't a conversation of what does God want for my life? What is his plan for my life? What was his plan for my child? There was no kind of conversations like that. But she did sacrifice her child for her gold. That's what it was for. And she said, I would have never thought I'd find myself in this situation. I'm like, were you fornicating? And the sad thing is, she was with a man that she wanted to marry and knew she wanted to marry. So, but at that time, that gold was important to her. So call it whatever. Don't call it whatever you want. Like, it is child sacrifice, bro. Like, just accept that. If that's what you want to fight for, that's what you want to go on the streets and march for, then march with honesty, darn it. That's what it is. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that people can say and will be saying about the MRP chair, and she'll have to find a way to message around those things. I got a decent idea. I'm gonna give her a call, but that particular thing, she's right about that. And when they attack on something like that, I'm like, if I was running for office, they would say the same things about me. Especially some of the things that they said regarding like her religion and other stuff like that. I'm like, they would say the same thing about like a huge chunk of Christians, but they it's like, they think specifically it's fine to attack. They really ferociously go after black Republicans, but um most of the time they want to go after white evangelicals. But the sort of things that they were attacking her for, I'm like, a ton of black evangelicals believe the same things. But that's where I just thought it was a huge attack on people's face. I did write an article about it at the time on blackteennews.com. But the people who did the tax, they got reelected, so they'll keep at it. They'll keep at it. They won't just attack people like her specifically. They'll attack other people for the same thing if they can in the future. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Like I said, I had a long weekend. I was so tired. I got home. It wasn't super late, but I was just exhausted, and I was still like tired when I woke up the next day. I came home from church, did a little bit of work, and just passed out pretty early. So I feel better now, but it was long. My feet really hurt. I couldn't find my flats that morning, so I was mostly walking around in my boots until I finally changed into my gym shoes. It was a long day, but I will say I was very proud and glad to sing the national anthem. A lot of people told me it was a highlight of the day. And if I will try to find that for you guys so I can play it for you. But I do have videos of me singing the national anthem up in different places, and you can find it everywhere, but not everywhere, but like I've posted on my Facebook feed and on YouTube before. So it's possible to find a version of it. I've sung at Trump rallies. I've sung at this might be my 4th or 5th time singing at the GOP convention. And I get asked all the time to sing at different GOP events. So I really wanted to sing at the RNC convention, and I don't know why that hasn't happened yet, Ronna McDaniel, but we'll see one day. Thank you guys for watching. Please go to blackteennews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos. Please check out the one I dropped today about the whole Super Bowl controversy with the national anthem. Check out different books that I have, like of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. That's available for pre-order on ebook. The paperback pre-order will be available soon. Just make sure you guys sign up for updates so you know. But I'm very excited about that coming out. FYI, my youngest sister did actually do the artwork there. So it was my idea to have it like the famous picture with God reaching out to Adam with the creation of man. And so I'm like, can you do a baby hand? And it's so cute. And so I thought she did a fabulous job. Tina's so talented. If you need any art done, she does oil paintings, acrylics, watercolors, and digital art. This is actually she sketched it out first, and then she did it on the computer. It did like and put like an oil painting texture over it. And once she had the hands done, I did the rest of it, which wasn't much. I usually do all my own covers. So I'm like, no, not usually. I do my own covers. I drew super good covers. That's me. I did that. I did the covers for, it was another cover. I made these covers. So I normally do my own covers. So I'm like, do you feel special because I let you do it? And she was like, yeah. But she did such a great job. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blackteennews.com/donate to cost stream on my website, all that good stuff. So if you would like to help with the overhead, I very much appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow.